Have you ever laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling like your own thoughts were the loudest enemy in the room? I remember a night not long after I hit rock bottom, where I sat alone in a dark room, and it felt like my own mind was screaming at me. I couldn't escape it. I tried praying, tried sleeping, tried distracting myself. But the voice in my head wouldn't stop. It kept saying, "You're not enough. You'll never be enough." And I sat there wondering, how do I fight something I can't see? How do I silence something that lives inside me? That's when I learned the most powerful truth I've ever discovered. You don't have to believe everything you think. And from that moment on, I made a decision. I was going to master my thoughts or be mastered by them, because your life will never rise above the level of your thinking. You can grind, you can hustle, you can show up every day. But if your mind is working against you, you'll never break through that ceiling you've been praying to escape. So today, I want to take you on a journey, not just of motivation, but of liberation. A journey where you take back your mind, reclaim your power, and master your thoughts like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your mind is the soil. What are you planting? Your life is not random. It's not an accident. It's a garden. And the most important truth you'll ever learn is this: your mind is the soil. What you plant in it, you will harvest in time. And no amount of wishing or hoping will change the law of planting and reaping. You would never, ever walk into your backyard, throw down seeds of poison ivy, and then cry when roses didn't bloom. But that's exactly what many of us are doing with our thoughts. Every single day, we wake up and immediately begin feeding ourselves with doubt. I don't think I can do this. We step into the mirror and fuel our self-loathing. I don't like what I see. We enter our work, our relationships, our dreams with thoughts that whisper, "You're not enough." And yet, somehow, we're surprised when life feels heavy, when anxiety rises, when peace is far away. But here's the truth, and it's not to shame you. It's to wake you up. You're stuck not because you're cursed, not because you're unlucky, but because of what you've been planting. Your inner dialogue is the soil of your entire existence. What you say to yourself, not once, not twice, but daily, becomes the root system of your behavior, your habits, and ultimately your future. So ask yourself, what seeds am I planting right now? If you plant faith, real, honest, shaky, but determined faith, you will grow courage. That doesn't mean you'll stop feeling fear. No. It means you'll learn how to move through it anyway. If you plant gratitude, even in small moments, you'll begin to feel peace rise in places where chaos once lived. But if you plant bitterness, you'll find yourself angry at things that happened years ago, unable to let go because the root is still feeding you. If you keep watering fear, you'll eventually become paralyzed, unable to step into new spaces because your mind has convinced you that danger is everywhere. Let me tell you something from the depth of my heart. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions others formed about you when you were trying to survive. You are what you choose to plant today. And that means no matter what you've done, no matter how long you've been feeding the wrong things, you can begin again. Right now. See, mastery doesn't begin with hustle. It doesn't begin with money. It doesn't begin with changing your environment, your job, your clothes, or your friends. It begins here in the silence, in the sacred place of the mind where your thoughts are formed. And you've got to understand something: your mind doesn't care if the seeds are good or bad. It just grows whatever you feed it consistently. That's why some of the most beautiful souls stay trapped in darkness. Not because they're bad people, but because they've never been taught how to tend their garden. We live in a world where negativity is normal, where sarcasm is celebrated, where it's easier to expect failure than prepare for greatness. And that mindset, that's the poison. That's the weed that chokes the life out of your potential. You've got to start thinking like a gardener. You don't just plant once and expect miracles. You water, you pull weeds, you protect what's growing, you wait, you trust, you show up every day. And in time, what you've planted will bloom. That's how it works. That's the process. And yes, it's slow, it's messy. Sometimes it's painful. But the moment you decide to stop letting your thoughts be accidents and start treating them like intentions, that's the moment your life begins to shift. You are not hopeless. You are not powerless. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the gardener. You are the planter. You are the keeper of the soil. And today, you get to decide what grows next. Maybe yesterday, all you planted was fear. Maybe you've been watering insecurity for years. That's okay. Don't curse the past. Just take back your power in the present. Begin again. Plant something new. Speak something new. Believe something new. Say to yourself, I plant faith. I plant courage. I plant truth. I plant love for myself, for my future, for my purpose. And I water it daily. Because the harvest is coming, whether you believe it or not. The question is, what will you have grown when it gets here? That's the question. That's the work. That's the beginning of mastery. And it starts right here, right now, in the soil of your mind. So plant wisely, because your life will always grow in the direction of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer. Take a deep breath with me. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And say this out loud or in your heart. I am not my thoughts. I am the one who notices them. Now pause for a moment and let that truth land inside you. Because for most of our lives, we were never taught this. We were taught math, science, history. But no one sat us down and said, hey, you're going to have 1,000 thoughts a day, and not all of them are true. You can watch them without becoming them. So we grew up believing everything we thought. And the dangerous part is, most of those thoughts were never ours to begin with. We picked them up from parents who were afraid, teachers who didn't believe in us, friends who laughed at our dreams, social media that constantly tells us we're not enough. And somewhere along the way, we started calling that noise truth. But let me tell you this, not every thought that enters your mind belongs to you. Not every voice that echoes in your head is coming from your heart. Some of them are old recordings running on autopilot. Some are patterns from pain. Some are just noise. And the minute you realize that you are not those thoughts, something inside you begins to break free. That voice that tells you you're going to fail. That whisper that says they don't love you. That echo of you'll never make it. That is not you. That is a cloud passing through the sky. You are the sky, and the sky is not disturbed by what passes through it. There is so much freedom in learning to observe instead of absorb, because the mind is constantly moving. It's going to have good days and bad. It's going to throw thoughts at you, some inspiring, some discouraging. That's normal. That's human. But you don't have to grab every one of those thoughts and build a home for it inside you. Just because a thought shows up doesn't mean it gets to stay. Just because a thought screams doesn't mean it's telling the truth. Your power lies in your ability to step back and ask, is this serving me? Is this building the life I want? Is this who I truly am? Let me give you a moment that changed me forever. I was on stage once. Thousands of people watching, lights bright, heart pounding. Right before I stepped up to the mic, a thought came into my head. You're not good enough to be here. Now, years ago, I would have listened. I would have let it sink in and shrink me. I would have shown up small, hesitant, maybe even backed out. But that day, something new rose up in me. I smiled, not out of confidence, but out of recognition. I said to myself, I see you, old thought. But I'm not you. And you don't run this anymore. And I walked on that stage anyway. I delivered the speech. I connected with people. I got a standing ovation, not because I didn't hear the voice, but because I didn't obey it. And that's where the shift happens. You begin to master your thoughts, not by eliminating every negative idea. That's not possible, but by choosing which ones get your energy. You stop being a prisoner to every fear that shows up. You stop letting every wave crash into your soul. You start watching the thoughts, and in doing that, you create space to breathe, space to choose, space to live with intention. You become the observer, and the observer is powerful. because the observer can say, that thought doesn't match the truth of who I am. And guess what? You get better at it with practice. At first, the negative thoughts will still feel heavy. They'll still shout. But as you begin to sit back, to take a breath, to watch instead of react, they'll lose their power. It's like watching clouds roll across the sky. You don't run after every cloud. You don't panic when one is dark. You just let it pass, knowing the sun is still behind it. That's what happens when you master the art of observation. You stop becoming the storm and start becoming the calm. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, especially if you've been at war with your thoughts for years, especially if those voices have been loud since you were a child. But I am saying it's worth it. Because once you separate your identity from your inner chatter, you unlock a power most people never find. So the next time that old thought shows up, you can't. You're not enough. You'll never be loved. Don't fight it. Don't believe it. Just notice it. Smile even. And remind yourself, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who notices them. That's where freedom begins. That's where the new life starts. That's where you come home to yourself. And from that place, anything is possible. Your environment is shaping your mindset. Let me ask you something. If you took the healthiest seed in the world, the strongest, most vibrant seed, full of potential, and you planted it in dry soil, poured motor oil on it, and left it in a dark garage, would it grow? No, it wouldn't. Not because the seed was flawed, but because the environment wasn't right. And that's exactly what many of us are doing to ourselves every single day. We carry all this potential, dreams, vision, purpose. But we've rooted ourselves in environments that are slowly starving our mindset. And then we wonder why we feel stuck, uninspired, confused, or even lost. Let's tell the truth. You can't grow greatness in a toxic atmosphere. You can't build peace in a space filled with chaos. You can't nurture confidence when you're surrounded by people who constantly make you doubt yourself. Your environment is shaping your mindset, whether you realize it or not. I want you to really look around your life right now. Look at the people you talk to every day. Look at what you listen to when you wake up. Look at what fills your feed, your group chats, your downtime, because your mind is a sponge and it will soak up whatever it's immersed in. If all you're exposed to is negativity, the complaining, the gossip, the fear-based media, the endless comparison on social platforms, then guess what? That becomes your mental baseline. You start to see the world through a distorted lens. You stop expecting good things because all you've seen is pain, doubt, division, and drama. Let me give it to you straight. You can't put gasoline in a plant and wonder why it's dying. Your soul is no different. You can't consume dysfunction every day and then pray for peace. You can't keep replaying negative conversations and expect to have a positive outlook. You can't build a powerful mindset while living in a powerless atmosphere. Everything you expose your mind to, every word, every energy, every message is either pushing you forward or pulling you back. There's no neutral. So what's the answer? You have to curate your environment with as much care as you curate your goals. You must be ruthless about what gets access to your mental space, because everything that lives in your environment eventually lives in your mind. Look at your circle. Are they encouraging you, challenging you, lifting you higher? Or are they low, key competing with you, draining you, doubting your vision? Look at your conversations. Are they about dreams, growth, learning, impact? Or are they full of drama, complaining, and recycled pain? Look at your content. Are you listening to voices that call you to become more? Or voices that tell you to settle, to shrink, to numb out, and stay in survival mode? See, one of the biggest lies we've been sold is that you can just think positive and everything will be okay. But your thoughts are deeply influenced by what surrounds you. A dirty glass can't pour clean water. A toxic environment can't produce a healthy mindset. You have to take ownership. Start being intentional about what you allow in. Feed your mind with growth. Read books that stretch you. Listen to voices that empower you. Spend time in spaces that reflect the future you're building, not the past you're trying to escape. Surround yourself with people who remind you who you are when you forget. People who don't let you sit in your pity, who call you out with love, who believe in your greatness even on the days you doubt yourself. You need people who speak life, places that offer peace, practices that bring clarity. That's what builds a strong mindset, not just willpower, but wise exposure. And sometimes the most powerful growth move you can make isn't reading a book or watching another motivational video. Sometimes it's walking away from someone who's been dimming your light. Sometimes it's turning off the noise and choosing silence. Sometimes it's deleting that app, that number, that habit that keeps you in the same cycle. You have that power. You get to design the atmosphere where your mindset can thrive. Because your mind will always believe what it's most frequently exposed to. If you want to believe in abundance, expose yourself to stories of breakthrough, not lack. If you want to believe in love, surround yourself with people who embody real connection, not dysfunction. If you want to walk in purpose, spend time in places that call your purpose out of hiding. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about realizing that every day, your environment is speaking to you, and you get to decide, do I let this shape me, or do I change the space I'm standing in? Because in the end, your mindset isn't just a reflection of who you are. It's a mirror of what's around you. So if you want to change the way you think, start by changing what you're surrounded by. Your future self will thank you. Your peace will thank you. Your mind will finally have room to grow. Speak life. Because your mind is listening, let's get one thing straight. Words are not just sounds. They are spells, powerful declarations that shape the atmosphere of your inner world. And the most powerful conversations you will ever have aren't with your boss, your partner, or even your mentor. The most powerful conversations are the ones you have with yourself every single day. Every word you say, especially to yourself, becomes a blueprint. When you say, I'm tired, I'm broke, I'm not good enough, your mind listens. It doesn't argue, it doesn't fact check, it simply says, okay, let's build a reality around that. And so your words become instructions. You feel more tired. You see more lack. You shrink your actions because your inner dialogue has convinced you that you're not enough to go after what you want. But the opposite is just as true. When you begin saying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm unstoppable, even if you don't fully believe it yet, your mind starts to rise to that expectation. It starts looking for evidence to support that new narrative. Because here's a truth that can change your life if you let it. Your brain will believe what you say to it most. It doesn't care if it's true or false. It cares if it's consistent. So when you repeat thoughts of defeat, it builds a mental home around them. But when you repeat thoughts of strength, vision, purpose, your brain rewires itself to support that version of you. That's why you have to speak life, even when life doesn't look like what you hoped. Especially then, you don't speak life because everything is perfect. You speak life because you're planning what's next. I've spoken to people who told me, Les, I can't lie to myself. I don't feel strong. I don't feel confident. I don't feel like I'm enough. And I tell them, you're not lying when you speak life. You're telling the truth your fear doesn't want you to remember. You see, you're not pretending. You're proclaiming. You're reaching past the pain to pull down the future. You're saying, this is who I really am, even if my circumstances haven't caught up yet. That's how transformation happens. Not just through action, but through affirmation. Every morning, you have a choice. You can either speak what you see, or you can speak what you believe. You can echo your emotions, or you can declare your intentions. And I'm not talking about cute little positive quotes. I'm talking about speaking truth with fire, looking in the mirror and saying, I am not who I used to be. I am becoming someone greater. I may have fallen, but I'm rising stronger. I'm not behind. I'm being prepared. You speak these things until your soul starts to believe them again. Because that's how you reprogram a mind that's been trained to doubt. You don't wait for evidence. You create it. with your words. You don't wait to feel confident. You declare your worth, and your feelings catch up later. Why? Because feelings follow focus. If you focus your words on pain, on what's missing, on what's wrong, your emotions and actions will mirror that focus. But if you focus your words on life, on progress, on possibility, your emotions will start aligning. Your behavior will shift. Your energy will change. And before long, you'll be living in the very truth you once had to fight to say out loud. I've lived this. I've had seasons where I felt like quitting, where the voice in my head was louder than my hope. And in those moments, I learned not to wait for motivation. I learned to speak it into existence. I would say, I still have something in me. I still have purpose. I still have power. And even when my heart didn't believe it, even when my eyes couldn't see it, my spirit kept hearing it. And over time, my life began to reflect what my words had been building all along. You've got to be your own encourager, your own motivator, your own healer, because no one else lives in your mind like you do. And no one else can speak life to your wounds like you can. So choose carefully. Stop rehearsing the lies. Stop giving your energy to self-hate, to scarcity, to fear, and start declaring the truth of who you are. Not who you feel like today, but who you're becoming. Say it again and again until your soul remembers. I am enough. I am growing. I am healing. I am rising. Say it louder than the doubt. Say it longer than the fear. Say it until the atmosphere shifts, because your mind is always listening. And when it hears life, it begins to build a life. Speak life every day, every moment, because your future is waiting on your words. You can't heal while you're still hurting yourself. There's a moment in every journey where silence speaks louder than screams. It's when the world finally quiets down and you're left with only one voice, the one inside your head. And sometimes that voice isn't kind. Sometimes it echoes old wounds, past failures, words that broke you, moments that fractured your faith in yourself. That's where many people live, not in the world, but in their minds, still battling wars that ended years ago. Let me ask you this. How do you expect to heal if you're still hurting yourself with your thoughts every single day? This is one of the hardest truths I had to learn in my own life. For a long time, I kept replaying the moments that made me feel less than. I wore guilt like a second skin. I treated myself the way the world once treated me, like I wasn't enough. And I didn't even realize it. You see, no one teaches us that pain doesn't end with the event. It lingers in our inner dialogue. And if we're not intentional, we carry our trauma like a compass, letting it steer the direction of our lives. Mastering your thoughts requires you to first confront the silent war you're waging against yourself. The small ways, the I'm not good enough murmurs, the I should have known better whispers, the they were right about me lies that you speak as if they're truth. You don't heal by pretending the past didn't happen. You heal by telling the truth about how it affected you and choosing not to let it define you anymore. There are two voices that live in all of us. One voice was born from pain. It sounds familiar. It says things like, stay small, don't try again. What if you fail? That voice thinks it's protecting you, but it's actually repeating the cycles of those who hurt you. And then there's the other voice, the one that barely whispers at first, the one that says, you are more. This isn't the end. You were made for more than just surviving. That voice, that's you. That's the truth. That's the version of you on the other side of healing. But to reach it, you've got to stop siding with the voice of pain. Listen to me. You are not the story your wounds have been telling you. Some of us think we're too damaged to dream again, too broken to be loved, too late to change. And so we self-sabotage. We push away good people. We dismiss opportunities. We say, I'm fine, we're not. All because we're still hurting ourselves with the thoughts we never challenged. And here's what I want you to hear with your heart. You didn't deserve what broke you, but you do deserve to heal from it. Healing isn't some magical moment. It's a decision you make daily to no longer participate in your own suffering. It's waking up and choosing compassion instead of condemnation. It's saying that thought doesn't serve me anymore. That lie doesn't belong to me anymore. It's showing up for yourself the way you wish someone had shown up for you back then. Let me ask you, if your friend talked to themselves the way you talk to yourself, what would you tell them? You'd tell them to be kind, to forgive themselves, to believe again. So why don't you offer yourself the same grace? Stop bleeding on your future because of wounds from your past. Stop disqualifying yourself from healing because of mistakes you made in survival mode. You were doing the best you could with what you had. Now it's time to do better because you know better. Every time you repeat that old narrative, I'll never make it. I'm not like them. I don't matter. You're reinforcing a cage you were never meant to live in. You're locking the door from the inside. But today you can choose differently. You can choose to rewrite the story. You can choose to stop reopening the wound with your words. You can choose to speak to yourself like someone worth saving. That's what healing really is. It's not just recovery. It's reclaiming your voice. It's breaking the pattern. It's saying, no more. I will not be my own enemy. The thoughts you think create the world you live in. So make your mind a place where healing can grow, where faith can root, where peace can thrive. It starts with the words you say to yourself when no one else is listening. The past is done. The pain is real, yes, but so is your power. Speak to yourself like you matter, because you do. Love yourself like you're worthy, because you are, and heal like your future depends on it, because it does. This is the turning point, not when the world changed, but when you did. Not when the pain ended, but when you stopped participating in it. Your healing isn't waiting out there. It's waiting in here, in your thoughts, in your words, in your choice to stop hurting yourself and start honoring your worth. Discipline is the bridge between thought and transformation. You can read every self-help book. You can repost every quote. You can say the right things, believe the right ideas, and even surround yourself with inspiring voices. But none of that will save you if you're not disciplined enough to act on it. Positive thinking is powerful, but it's not magic. And too many people stop at the thought and wonder why their life doesn't change. You can think like a champion, but if you move like a victim, nothing shifts. The difference between people who change and people who wish is one word: discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's alignment. It's the proof that you're serious, that you're done romanticizing a better life and ready to build one, that you've moved beyond the dream and into the grind. It's the moment where intention meets action and creates transformation. You've got goals. Great. But discipline is what gets you from goal setter to goal achiever. Mastering your thoughts requires more than awareness. It demands discipline. Discipline in how you think. Discipline in what you entertain. Discipline in what you allow to grow in your mental garden. Because here's the truth. If you don't discipline your mind, it will default to survival. And survival isn't your purpose, it's your past. When that old voice rises, the one that tells you you're not enough, that you'll never change, that your best days are behind you, you don't nod your head in agreement. You challenge it. You speak back. You sit down with your journal, your God, your goals, and you write a new truth over the lie. Not just once, every day. That's discipline. Discipline is setting a standard in your life that your emotions don't get to break. It's choosing growth when comfort is calling. It's doing the thing even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That means when you wake up tired, you still get up and move. When the doubt is loud, you still speak faith. When the fear shows up, you don't run, you refocus. That's discipline. People often ask, how do I reprogram my mind? The answer is simple, but not easy repetition with intention. Your thoughts are like habits. Left unchecked, they'll operate on autopilot. But with discipline, you can interrupt the old and instill the new. It starts with identifying the lie, then replacing it, then repeating the truth until it sticks. Here's what most don't tell you: transformation is boring before it's beautiful. It's doing the same small things over and over again. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's waking up early, saying your affirmations, keeping your promises to yourself, and doing it on days when no one's clapping. That's when real change is born. Discipline is not perfection. It's consistency. It's refusing to let a bad day turn into a bad mindset. It's falling and still showing up. It's understanding that transformation isn't a leap, it's a bridge. And discipline is the bridge that carries you from idea to identity. What you think becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes how you act. And how you act becomes who you become. But none of it locks in without discipline. So the next time you feel stuck, don't ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, where am I lacking discipline? Because your transformation is already written. It just needs your daily signature. You don't have to feel motivated to move. You just have to move. You don't need perfect thoughts. You need practiced ones. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to walk with discipline. Every great life is built on disciplined thinking. Every powerful mind is guarded by disciplined focus. And every transformed person you admire didn't get there by accident. They got there by choice daily. Disciplined choice. So wake up and make that choice. Choose to think higher. Choose to speak life. Choose to act in alignment with the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. And if you fall, get back up. Because discipline is not about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. This is the gap between the life you have and the life you want. Not just thought. Disciplined thought, not just belief. Disciplined belief, not just action. Disciplined, consistent, intentional action. Discipline is the quiet force behind every loud breakthrough. Build it. Honor it. Become it. And your transformation won't be a matter of if, it'll be a matter of when. Use the pain as fuel, not a fortress. Pain has a voice. And if you're not careful, it becomes the narrator of your life. It will whisper in moments of silence, scream in seasons of failure, and echo in rooms you no longer sit in. Pain, when left unchallenged, becomes a fortress, a mental prison that walls off possibility, growth, and greatness. But here's the truth. Pain was never meant to trap you. It was meant to fuel you. We've all been there. Betrayed, rejected, abandoned, misunderstood. And when the wound is fresh, it feels like your whole identity gets rewritten by that moment. Your confidence shatters, your passion fades, your voice trembles. And in the silence, your mind starts negotiating with your future. Because they hurt me, I won't open up again. Because I failed once, I won't try again. Because they didn't see my value, maybe I don't have any. But all of that is a lie written by pain. Pain wants you to pause, to sit down, to doubt. But pain is not a prophecy. It's just a process. A moment that invites you not to collapse, but to reframe. You don't get stronger by avoiding pain. You get stronger by processing it, by standing in it and deciding it will not own you. Mastering your mind means you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start declaring, what can this do for me? There's a difference between a person who's been broken and stayed broken, and one who's been broken but chose to build again. The key difference. Perspective, you have to tell yourself a new story. Don't say, this broke me. Say, this built me. Don't say, this ruined me. Say, this revealed me. Don't say, this was the end. Say, this was the beginning of a new version of me. A pain is not the end of your potential. It's the beginning of your power. Every heartbreak teaches you boundaries. Every loss shows you what truly matters. Every closed door pushes you toward the one meant to open. But only if you're willing to look again. Don't build walls around your heart. Build wisdom. Don't lock yourself away in fear. Lean into faith. Don't use your past as an excuse. Use it as evidence that you've survived worse. When a seed is buried, it looks like the end. It's dark. It's silent. No one claps. But that darkness doesn't mean death. It means development. Your pain may have buried you, but it also positioned you for growth, for strength, for power you never knew you had until survival became necessary. Think about the strongest people you admire. None of them became great without pain. The difference is they used it. They didn't let it harden them. They let it hone them. They didn't deny the wound, but they also didn't let the wound define them. And you get to make that same choice. You can stay stuck in the story where you were the victim, or you can rewrite the narrative where you became the victor. Yes, they hurt you, but now you're wiser. Yes, it broke you, but now you're stronger. Yes, the dream failed, but now you're focused. There's no shame in pain. The shame is in surrendering to it. You're not weak for feeling it, you're human. But strength is choosing to rise with it, not rot in it. That's what mental mastery is. It's not never getting hurt. It's getting hit and still healing forward. So the next time that memory comes up, that betrayal, that failure, that disappointment, don't hide from it. Look it in the face and say, thank you. Because it taught you something. It revealed something. And it refined something. Your pain was never meant to be a prison. It's your permission to grow. Use it to fuel your voice. Use it to write that book. Launch that business. Speak that truth. Heal that wound. Show up with fire, not fear. With purpose, not protection. With boldness, not bitterness. You are not the story of your pain. You are the author of your response to it. And that response, that new story, is what will set you free. So build from it. Grow through it. Speak power into it. Because pain is real, but so is your rebirth. What you focus on expands your mind is the most powerful tool you own. And the truth is, it listens to you more than anyone else ever will. Every single day, it's tracking your focus like a heat-seeking missile. Whatever you point it toward, problems or potential chaos or calm, fear or faith, it multiplies. This isn't hype. It's not just motivational fluff. It's neuroscience. The reticular activating system must raise in your brain filters billions of bits of data every day to prioritize what you've told it to notice and what you've focused on most. So if all you ever talk about is how unfair life is, how people always leave, how success isn't for you, then guess what? Your mind starts scanning every room, every conversation, every opportunity for evidence to support that belief. Your focus creates your filter, and your filter becomes your reality. You can't afford to casually focus anymore. Not if you want to grow, not if you want peace, not if you want to change. Because whatever you lock your mind on becomes the script your life begins to follow. You've been given this incredible, God-designed ability to shape your inner world with intention. But many are still running on mental autopilot, reacting, complaining, drifting, focusing on what drains them, and wondering why they feel empty. You're not empty because life is cruel. You're empty because your attention is bankrupt. Your energy flows where your focus goes. And if all your energy is going to what's broken, what's missing, what hasn't worked out, you're feeding the very things that paralyze your growth. But here's the beauty of it, T. You can choose differently. You can shift your focus, not perfectly, but intentionally. You can wake up and instead of checking your phone for bad news, you can check your soul for good vision. You can speak life into your morning instead of drowning it in dread. You can look at your bank account and say, I'm building, instead of, I'm broke. You can look at the mirror and say, I'm becoming, instead of, I'm behind. It starts small, but that's where transformation always begins. It's not about pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about refusing to give it your dominant attention. It's not about ignoring the facts. It's about focusing on faith over fear, on what could be instead of what always was. Because your mind will work overtime to prove you right. And that means you need to start telling it the right things. God made your mind fertile. It will grow anything you plant. Fear or hope, resentment or gratitude, lack or abundance. You are the gardener. The thoughts you meditate on become seeds, and those seeds become roots. And eventually those roots will shape your reality, whether you're conscious of it or not. That's why scripture says, meditate day and night, not to sound religious, but because meditation is repetition. And repetition is what programs the mind. So what are you repeating to yourself? What do you keep saying under your breath? What do you silently focus on when no one's around? If it's pain, you'll relive it. If it's possibility, you'll build it. This is about spiritual discipline as much as it's about mental mastery. It's God reminding you As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's not poetry. That's a principle. You become what you focus on. You attract what you focus on. You act on what you focus on. And eventually, your whole world mirrors your dominant thought patterns. So it's time to clean the lens. Focus on progress, even if it's slow. Focus on gratitude, even when it's hard. Focus on purpose, even when you're tired, because there's always something growing. If you choose to look, if you want peace, focus on peace. If you want healing, focus on growth. If you want strength, focus on truth. And if you want alignment, focus on God's promises more than people's opinions. You are not a victim of your mind. You are its leader. You are not stuck. You're being summoned. Summoned to change the conversation in your head, to shift from limitation to liberation, from fear to focus, from distraction to discipline. What you focus on expands. So ask yourself, what do you want more of? Now focus on that like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. The mastery is in the daily return mastery isn't a single moment of enlightenment. It's not a breakthrough that lasts forever. It's not a flash of motivation that changes everything. Real mastery, especially over your mind, is found in the quiet, consistent act of returning. Not once, but every day. You will not win every mental battle in one round. You will not silence every doubt in one prayer. You will not replace years of self-sabotage with one motivational quote. And that's okay. That's not failure. That's reality. The mind is a muscle. And like any muscle, it gets stronger through repetition, not instant transformation. You're going to have days when the voices in your head are louder than your vision. Days when fear feels more real than faith. Days when the weight of old habits pulls harder than the desire for new ones. Days when you slip. Days when you spiral. Days when you forget every truth you work so hard to believe. But mastery doesn't demand perfection. It demands your return, the return to truth, the return to presence, the return to purpose, the return to your affirmations, not because they're magic words, but because they rewire the story your mind keeps telling you. The return to prayer, not because God forgot you, but because you needed the reminder that he never left. The return to your vision, not because it disappeared, but because life can cloud it and focus can revive it. And the return to the belief that you are becoming, that you are not stuck, not defined by yesterday, not a victim of the inner storm, but a warrior learning how to stand in it. You're human. You'll lose your footing sometimes. You'll forget who you are. You'll get caught in the spiral of overthinking, insecurity, or regret. But every time you catch yourself and come back, you build strength. You reinforce a new identity. You remind your mind that you're in charge now. The transformation doesn't come from never falling. It comes from rising every time you do. Every time you choose not to spiral. Every time you interrupt the old pattern. Every time you speak truth to your doubt. Every time you stop scrolling and start praying. Every time you stop running and start returning. That's how mastery is made, not in a moment, but in the momentum. You don't need to win the whole war today. You just need to return. Return to the breath. Return to the path. Return to what matters. Because every return is an act of rebellion against the chaos. It's you saying, no, I'm not giving my mind away today. I'm not letting my old pain run today's show. I'm not letting fear drive this hour. And maybe you have to do that 12 times today. That's still mastery. That's still progress. That's how you train your mind. You show up again and again. The people who master their minds are not the ones who never waver. They're the ones who keep returning with humility, with intention, with grace. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be persistent. And here's what happens over time. Every time you return, you make it easier to return again. Every time you interrupt the lie, you weaken its grip. Every time you choose to show up for yourself, even when it feels pointless, you build mental muscle. And eventually, the mind that once controlled you begins to serve you. It becomes quieter, calmer, more aligned. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. Not because your past vanished, but because your presence became more powerful than your pain. And that's what this is really about. not changing everything in one go, but learning how to come back home to yourself every single day. Even if yesterday was chaos, even if last week was a mess, even if today started rough, you can return now. You can return in this breath. You can return in this moment. Because the invitation to mastery isn't reserved for the few who get it right. It's wide open for those who are willing to keep coming back. Back to the truth. Back to discipline. Back to grace. Back to vision. Back to God. That's where your power lies. Not in flawless execution, but in relentless return. So come back. Again. And again. And again. That's where the mind is mastered. That's where your life is rebuilt. Let me leave you with this. If you don't master your thoughts, they will master you. They will keep you in rooms you've outgrown. They will keep you in pain that no longer serves you. They will keep you replaying old stories, living small, afraid to shine. But today, you choose something greater. You choose to fight back, to speak up, to believe again, to rewrite your story from the inside out, because the battlefield isn't out there. It's right here. And when you win the war in your mind, there's nothing in this world that can hold you back. So rise up, speak life, reframe the pain, guard the gate, and walk like the master of your own mind, because you are powerful, you are chosen, you are the author of your destiny, and your story is just beginning.